Assalamualaikum. A very good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you to the moderators, Dr. JC and Mr. Ravi. My name is Dr. Fitri Suraya Muhammad, and I am working in University Malaysia Sarawak. I hope you are all still glued to the screen after attending the four fantastic talks that we've heard, before mine today. So I am going to be sharing with you today about how we can gamify STEM subjects using traditional Indigenous games. First, before we begin, I would like for you to check in. If you can, go to your chat box right now. If you are on YouTube, you're accessing this on YouTube, go to the chat box and try to put in a GIF that represents how you feel right now. Yeah, I'll give you a couple seconds to do that. All right. It looks like everybody's still awake and still paying attention. That's very good. Yeah, shall we begin to the this is the agenda for today. Now that I know that we are all ready, I would like to briefly explain to you the agenda for my 20-minute slot this morning. I will be talking about how we can gamify STEM subjects, and I will show you how we do it in the Creative Culture Project, and how you can do it yourself. Yeah, and if it time permits, we are going to be able to see what you will come up with. Yeah, in terms of the games that you would like to create. So the session will end with a little bit of a summary at the end, with the key points that I would like to highlight for this talk. So a bit of an introduction. If you're not familiar yet with what we are doing in Unimas, particularly the Unimas Gamification Center, we are a team of academics from multiple disciplines and interests and talents, and we've come together to work on R&D for gamification. So we essentially focus on making STEM more accessible for young learners. We are highly concerned about the development of higher order thinking skills in each learning experience. Yeah, so because we envision that there will be a future where SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, will be achieved naturally when we have a collectively intelligent human race. And by doing so, by educating our younger generation, we might have a shot to do this. Yeah. So those of you who are teaching, you might be familiar with this already. This is the Malaysian Higher Education Blueprint. And as you know already, this is probably going to end, very soon. But I think the aspirations that we are trying to achieve as a nation is going to be continued, obviously, through the future. And these four C's and one N, creative thinking, communication, collaboration, critical thinking. These are all things that are like buzzwords, that we see, and also what makes us a little bit different from other literature on 21st century learning is on ethics, ethics and moral values, in which we have to address it if possible, and integrate it into the way that we teach, into the way that we use our resources, into the way that we talk about the content knowledge that we're teaching, and all that. Yeah. So I want to share a little bit about our experience in Unimas. Yeah, in Unimas, through our Masters in Learning Science program, we have been able to experiment 21st century teaching and learning. Yeah, so we've been exploring many ways to innovate the way that we teach. So using the four C's and the one N as a guide, we have introduced gamification of learning through one of our taught courses in our program. The majority of our students are in-service teachers. So we started in 2017, And we brought these teachers, these students actually, to Teluk Melano. At that point in time, there was no roads, yeah, that lead to Teluk Melano. Everything was still under construction, but the students persevered, and they made a few trips, to go to Teluk Melano. And what we coached them in the course was that we got them to design learning games with the school teachers, and then we got them to try it out, yeah, with the school children. And on the play day itself, when we wanted to showcase what has been done with the teachers, we connected them with another school, which is SK Tlagai. um, what was interesting about this experience was that both schools, yeah, Tlagai and Teluk Melano, are both dependent on the sea. Yeah, their socioeconomic activities are very much dependent on small farming, small medium-sized farming, and also the sea. However, the children did not know each other, and they did not know the existence of the other. So they were only 150 kilometers apart from each other. So through the collaborative learning games that was created, um, the children in SK Tlagai and SK Teluk Melano were able to play online games, yeah, together, two locations synchronously. And in the next cohort, we replicated this. So the following cohorts after that replicated the same approach, yeah, but they designed many other learning games, yeah, to teach problematic topics identified by science and mathematics teachers, and also English teachers, yeah, at selected schools. So the picture that you see here is an experience that we had with one cohort in SK Sebandi Matang, and also in SK Asajaya Laut. One of our major achievements was to connect students in SK Long Lame, a remote rural Baram, yeah, to a class in house in Coventry University, no, Coventry Town, yeah, Coventry City, House Primary School. That's what is the name of the school is, and they are in the UK. Yeah, and this happened in May 2019. So our research partners from the Disruptive Media Learning Lab in Coventry University also came with us, took the long, arduous journey into the remote rural area of Baram, and we work with the school teachers for the whole week, and then we geared them towards using games for teaching, yeah. So some of the samples that I would like to share with you today of the traditional games that we have remixed, yeah, that addresses STEM subjects. For instance, we played Keting. This may be a very familiar game to a lot of you. Yeah, it's a very popular playground game. We call it Hopscotch as well. Yeah, and we converted the game to become a gamified learning source. So the playmat was coupled with questions. So if you can see the squares next to the places where you're supposed to hop on, the students are supposed to answer questions on the food chain. So if they cannot answer, they can't proceed. Yeah, so there is a competition, obviously. You know, they get into teams, and they would compete to get to as many points as possible, as because the more questions they're able to answer, the more points that they will get. Another favorite playground game is Dodgeball. Yeah, so one of our cohorts in our masters in learning science program used Dodgeball as inspiration, yeah, for the gamification of learning. So our students created a game that uses game mechanics, yeah, to teach a secondary school in Kuching about electric circuits. So we got them to, explore what are the rules of the game, what are the ways as to how they want the students to play it, and what is it about the electric circuit that they want the students to learn. So the teachers in the school that we approached specifically said students were not really sure about how to teach series and parallel circuits. So, and this is where they came up with the idea of using the dodgeball. So players get into two teams and they would compete to protect their own electrical circuits, and there is a master, there's a game master that will decide who would be sitting in what position. Yeah, so if you can see here, there are 8 players needed to sit in one mat. So there's 2 teams, so there's 16 players. So they will be sitting on the circuit, they will standing on the circuit mat. It is planned by their team leader, and every player, yeah, will be provided a card. So all the students will be wearing cards, yeah, and the cards will represent components in within the circuit. So there's many options as to what the team leader would be choosing. So using the dodgeball, they will try to hit each other, yeah, in the other circuit. So the players represent a complete circuit by joining hands. Yeah, so the rubber ball that they're using is targeted normally towards trying to break the circuit. Yeah, trying to break the circuit. So the kids have a lot of fun playing this. The ball is thrown specifically at team members. So if you got the ball and you break the circuit, that means you are out of the game, yeah, and somebody else has to come in and replace you. So the team's role is really to protect each other, yeah, from their components, and to avoid being hit by the ball. So the strategy master has to determine the substitute components if somebody gets kicked out, and they need to make sure that the circuit is complete until the end of the game. Yeah, so this is a very physical game which helps students remember what they're learning. So these are some of the examples that we have gone through. Yeah. So from the process of trying different games and trying to understand how people put this together, we find that gamification provides a purpose for collaboration. It provides a way for students to work with one another from the content knowledge that we want to teach, which is the knowledge building. Yeah, we get to select, and we get to dissect the contents, and we get to choose what are the things that are problematic for the students, and from there we try to match it with games that we know. Yeah, based on what we know and the rules of how to play the game, we match it and we create scripts. So that's why scripts are very important. Scripting is very important because scripting enables the students to understand what they need to do, what they're supposed to do, what are the things that are expected of them, and how they're going to carry out the that whole learning journey. Yeah. So in the last bit, which is the construction of the artifacts, this is where the teachers would design the games, yeah, design the instruction, design the way as to how the game will be presented to the students. So that's the reason why the teachers have to be aware of the kind of cognitive development that we would like the students to engage in, yeah, while they're playing the game. So it's not just playing the game for the sake of fun, for the sake of filling up time, but rather it is a way to engage in higher order thinking, yeah, in a way that they are not just mastering the content knowledge, but also to go beyond what is expected in the textbook. Yeah. So the construction of the artifacts very much depends on what the instructor or the teacher is able to do. So at the Creative Culture, the Unimas Gamification Center, through our creative culture research project, we came up with a set of play cards, yeah, to guide educators to construct their own gamified teaching, yeah, teaching materials, teaching activities, yeah, and it matches the learning mechanics and the game mechanics. So this is how the cards look like, yeah. Um, and the key strategy in this cards is actually these three things, yeah. First, you need to identify the game that you would like to play. Think of the game that you know, yeah, you're familiar with. Find out if there are games that perhaps you wanna learn the mechanics, yeah, and then think about how it is played. Yeah, think about the rewards in the game. What kind of rewards do people get when they play the game? And think about how to win it. Yeah, so these are the things of what we call game mechanics. Yeah, how the game works. The second part is the context. So we think about, if we want to do this, where are we going to play this? Yeah, where is it that we're going to be executing this? Um, the location, the resources, the support that you're going to have, the conditions of the place. Yeah, so we have to think about that first. So think of it in terms of the logistics, if you will. Yeah, the contextualization of the learning experience, yeah, through the gamification process. So and the last but not the least important, actually this is the most important part, is the content. What is it that we're trying to teach? Yeah, what knowledge or skills are we trying to teach, yeah, through the gamification process? What learning goals do we want to achieve, and how are we going to assess learning? Yeah, how do we know if they have achieved learning success? So we need to be aware of this, so that we know how we're going to be driving uh, the the gamification experience. Yeah, so let me show you how we do it at the Gamification Center. Yeah, so we would use a lot of post-it notes. Yeah, like for instance, trompa gagasi, yeah, one a very popular playground game, and how to teach a topic in science. So some of the questions that would be thrown would be, what is the challenge to learn the content? Yeah, why is it that the content is so difficult to learn? Break that down first. Yeah, find out why is it that students are having problems understanding the content. So, and what skills do they need, yeah, in order to master the content? What higher education, higher order thinking skills that are targeted? Um, what do you want them to be able to do? Yeah, over and above the what is expected through the syllabus. Yeah, and how will you match the learning mechanics and the game mechanics? So once we have identified the learning issue, we would identify the learning mechanics, like how the content would be learned, and then we choose the game and match it with the game mechanics, yeah, how the game is actually played, and through that we would create a learning game. Yeah, so in a nutshell, this is how we created this, yeah, with our students. And the game that we chose for this is just an example. Yeah, it's called Swish. It's a play card. It's a set of play cards that you have to arrange. You get 16 cards when you are dealt with. You have to arrange them in 4 rows and 4 columns, and you have to look for the match, yeah, among the 16 cards. And then the cards which are dealt out, meaning that the player who can put together the matches better than others, yeah, more than others, he would win the game. Yeah, so that's the Swish card. So it's transparent deck cards. Yeah, and the students also came up with like a map to indicate like where would trompa gegasi would be used. Yeah. So we came up with 3 different levels. This is where the students would start. Yeah, and then they have to wear the clocks, yeah, the giant clocks, and then they have to get to the first level. They have to answer some questions, and then when they are ready, they will go to the second level, and then the third level, which is the more complicated items. So the subject or the topic that they are asked to learn is actually to learn about simple to complex machines. Yeah, and a lot of students seem to have problems understanding what is tuas. Yeah, how does a bicycle work? You know, what kind of parts does a bicycle make? Yeah, so all these things are what do you call it? Has been highlighted by the content teachers. Yeah, and the gamification elements that was included in this game that we built, the players would need to answer all of the questions in the 3 levels. Yeah, there are 3 levels, 3 checkpoints in the game. They have to wear the trompa gagasi, yeah, and they have to move forward, and they have to answer questions. Yeah, they have to pick up the cards as they move along. They have to answer questions, and then they have to put it together collaboratively with their friends. So this is an example of how the trompa gagasi looks like and how it is being played. Yeah, so we put the students in teams. So they would go to a checkpoint. Yeah, once they get to the checkpoint, they will get questions, and once they are able to answer the questions, they will get the cards. Yeah, so they will be collecting this throughout. So there's 3 levels. There's 3 different difficulty levels. Yeah, for them to answer. So the mission is for them to complete the pictures of complex machine by matching and stacking the simple machine cards. So they have to work on this collaboratively. Yeah, and you can see that while they are solving this problem, they are using their creativity, they are collaborating, they are talking to each other, they are using their critical thinking skills, because they have to solve the problem in a certain time limit. Yeah, and this also obviously encourages cooperative learning, tolerance, negotiation. Yeah, and students displayed very positive attitude, yeah, towards working with one another. And we also brought a few more games. As you can see, some of it here may be familiar to you as well. This is the Twister game in the first picture here. It is to teach mathematics, yeah, coordinates particularly, yeah. So the mat is actually built with coordinates. So the students have to figure out the coordinates in order to move on the Twister board, yeah. And this one is what we call kebabum. They are actually playing with another school. If you can see on the screen on the far right, they are playing a math quiz, yeah, using a bunch of sticks that was created, and they would choose the sticks had labels of mathematical equations, yeah, and they have to answer the questions of the math questions, and then they would compete with the other team in the other school to see who can answer the question fastest. Yeah, so the team who answers the quickest would win the points. So this is your turn now. You will have a chance to try our formula. Yeah. So again, the key strategy is to identify the game. Think about a game that you are familiar with. Think about how you can play the game and the rewards, and how do people win the game. Yeah. So and I have a suggestion here, so that you can think about how to strategize. Yeah. So the game that is suggested here is Galah Panjang. Yeah, and it's to teach mathematics. Yeah, mathematics, primary school, um, subtraction, multiplication, division, addition. Yeah, so teaching them how to use these symbols properly. Yeah, using a bunch of numbers that they can play with. Yeah, so First of all, ask yourselves what is the challenge for them to learn. Yeah, these four basic ways to learn mathematics. What are the skills that they need to master? What are the higher order thinking skills that you are targeting, yeah, as a teacher? And how will you match what they need to learn with the game? And the game here meaning Galah Panjang, yeah. So take a bit of time, try to write in the chat box and see, I would like to see your responses. Like, how would you teach this? Yeah. All right. So while you're thinking about your game, so Gala Panjang is a very popular kampung game. Yeah, we play this as a child. I think most of us would play this as a child. Normally lines will be drawn, yeah, with a chalk on the floor, and the whole idea is to form two teams, and the teams will be opposite of each other, and then we try to compete by attempting to reach the other side of the box as quickly as possible. Yeah. So write down the rules of the game. Yeah, write down the rules of the game. If you don't know it, you might have to ask someone. Yeah, and choose the mathematics topic that you would like to teach. Yeah, and identify your learning goals. What are the things that students would have to achieve through the gamified lesson? Okay, so when you're ready, think about the place as to where the game would be played. Think about what resources you have. Yeah, what are the things that you have already? Yeah, that would enable this game to be played. Yeah, so if you don't have chalk, what else do you have? Can you just use maybe sticks, perhaps? Yeah, anything that is around you that you can use. Yeah, do you have enough people to play the game? And the content itself, yeah, think about the knowledge and skills that you want the students to take away from this whole experience. Yeah, because when we involve students in the gamified lesson, the whole experience has got to be something that is lasting, that they would remember. Yeah, think about the goals that you have set and how you will assess it. So maybe you want to have some kind of a rubrics, yeah, to find out whether they are learning, how much they are learning, yeah, through the experience. Or you can even have a pre-post test to find out whether there's any difference from before they played the game to after they played the game. Yeah, so it's really up to you. Yeah. So this is our example of how the Gala Panjang is being played. So the teams would collect number cards. So the number cards are put all over the floor. Yeah, and the opposing team has to collect as much as possible. And they need to collect and then count. And then based on the total number of how much that they have at the end of the day, they will be able to purchase things. Yeah, purchase things. So I'll show you how it's done. Yeah, so the kids had a lot of fun, yeah, playing the game. So this is also an example of when they have collected the numbers and also the signs, the symbols, yeah, and they start to collaborate. They try to start to think together, and you see them solving mathematical problems together. Yeah, and all this using the four C's and the one N. Yeah, all this all in action. And once they have gotten the total number of how much they have collected through the game, So they would be able to purchase, yeah, the items using the amount that they have acquired. So these are some Iban Bidayo games that we have collected, yeah, which is present in Sarawak. I'm sure there are many, many more games that you know about, yeah, traditionally, which is indigenous to the places where you are from. So we this is a little teaser. We hope you will come back, and we'll organize a workshop just on how to work on the traditional games for to create gamified lessons. And but there are so many games that we can take as aspiration, yeah, to use to make the learning experience, the learning journey, more meaningful and memorable for the students. So going back to the key points that we have um, synthesized through our process of using gamification to address STEM subjects, yeah, STEM plus subjects. We know that gamification provides the purpose for the collaboration. Yeah, so because they feel that they are immersed in the process of the game, that they forget that they're actually learning a lot of things, yeah, while they are playing. So the knowledge building theory builds towards the scripting, which is how the teachers would be breaking down the process of coming up with the learning game or the learning activity, and then to design the artifacts, meaning to design the game itself, yeah, to construct the game itself, to match what exactly is needed by the students that we are teaching. Yeah. So I want to leave you with this quote here, which says, "The mind is just like a muscle. The more we exercise it, the stronger it gets, and the more it can expand." So using games as a way to reach out to students, and to couple that with what they're supposed to be learning in the class. This is where we make the learning more memorable for the students, meaningful, and they're also able to engage in the four C's and one N. Yeah, sometimes when it happens naturally, this is where we reap the benefits of the active learning. Yeah. So my second last slide, yeah, before I leave, a little book plug. This is by a friend, Professor Sylvester Anap. He's at Coventry University. He works with us at the Unimas Gamification Center, but he is based in the UK. And he has a book out. Those of you who are seriously thinking about working on gamification, you can get this book. It's called Game Science in Hybrid Learning Spaces. And he has outlined a lot of ideas, yeah, that we can pursue in order to achieve the higher order thinking level, yeah, when we are designing games. How do we prepare students for this? How do we get them to think in a way that it's natural for them through the use of game mechanics? Yeah. And thank you very much for your time, for your attention, and I hope this has been useful. My name is Dr. Fitri, and you can reach me on Twitter. My handle is mfitri. Thank you very much, and over to you, Dr. JC and Mr. Ravi.